Welcome to our second discussion in the series, Healing Polarization with the Help from the Animals. And I'm Annette Hadaway. I'm an animal communication teacher and animal and nature communicator. And I'm coming to you today from Sri Lanka. And I'd love to have my colleagues introduce themselves as well. Christina, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone who's watching. My name's Christina, and I live in Cyprus. It's an island in the Mediterranean. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here with you today and discussing this subject with the animals.
Jill?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Laurie. I am an animal communicator and a coach, and I am in Rockaway Beach, New York, in the United States. And it's very chilly here, so I'm looking forward to the animals bringing us lots of warmth and love.
Yay!
Yeah, I should mention the date. It is January 20th. I think our first discussion was on December 2nd, if I'm remembering correctly. And today's subtopic is asking the animals for help. Now, on our first discussion, Jill brought to us communication from a gorilla friend of hers. And then the very next day, I read an article about two gorilla families that Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund monitors. And they've been engaging in peaceful behavior regularly. And the Gorilla Fund shared that interactions between the gorilla groups can be tense, but that hasn't been the case with the recent meetings between these two families lately. And the two families are the Titus group and the Segasira group. And so I thought it'd be fun to talk to them, these groups today. And I thought we would start out by just getting to know the Segasira group first and saying hi and getting to know their personality as a collective before we ask them any questions. So you guys want to take a moment and say hello and then share what you're learning about the Segasira group's personality? And whoever wants to start sharing, please go ahead.
I heard as soon as you were describing the two groups, I heard, but we're not groups. And I asked them, I said, what do you mean you're not groups? And I was waiting to hear what they wanted me to convey. And one of them said, we are a community, we are family. And I heard that they're very charming and that they charm their way into situations or out of situations. So that's how I understood this family to be. Very charming.
Do you want to talk a moment, Christina, about somebody that might be new to animal communication watching this video and they're not familiar with it? Is it possible to talk to a collective in your experience? That we're talking to a whole group instead of picking out one. Do you want to share what you've learned about that?
Yeah, I mean, even while you were asking this question, they're showing me that they are a collective, they are together, but they are one voice, you know, they have very like the similarities that come from a group. But then as you're talking to the collective, you might have one individual that has some differentiating, let's say, opinion or answer, and you might hear that come out more vividly. But I've spoken to, like, if you speak to Mother Earth as a collective, you know, you can hear the answer from Mother Earth. Or the dolphins, we've spoken to the dolphins as a collective, and again you hear their answer, their heart. I think it comes from their heart, you know, as I would understand it. So yeah, I have had experience talking to the collective of different species.
In the US where I'm from, we, in communities, I'm from the state of Oregon, and we'll have maybe in a political format or a mayor, they might hold a town hall where all the community members come together to talk about a certain subject. So I kind of liken it as a town hall, the animals town hall, but I don't know if you do town halls in Cyprus or not. It might be something foreign.
Yeah, no, we do have like similar gatherings of people. I don't think we call them town halls, but yeah, gathering of communities, let's say.
Jill, would you like to share?
Sure. So what I got from them was this sense of pride and loyalty, and also that they're very strategic, that they're evolving, and that they are realizing that as conditions change, they need to change and evolve, and that their behavior, even towards the other group, is part of their evolution, because the bottom line is their survival. And so they're just very smart and interesting, because while they're in the moment, they also are kind of thinking a little longer term in terms of the species and what is going to allow them to continue to survive and flourish.
Do you have any thing that you want to add about talking to animals as a collective?
Yeah, you know, it's always interesting because I think with any group of people, there are going to be similarities and there are going to be differences. And so when I talk to, you know, a collective group, I think they tend to share more what their similarities are, right? What are the things they have in common that they can speak with one voice? And then there can be, you know, certainly individuals that might differ in some way, or, you know, certainly have their own perspective, their own personalities. But I think, you know, generally, what, you know, when they speak all together, it's things that they kind of tend to agree on, things that they want to share, they want people to hear about, like what the message they want to relay is.
Thanks, Jill. I found the Segasira family to be fun-loving, happy. Now, this is a word that I don't use, voiceful. And I said, do you guys mean boisterous? And they go, no, we mean voiceful. I'm like, okay. Joyous, social, friendly. And then they gave me the word concerned. And what do you mean by concerned? And then they gave me the word humanity. Do you guys want to talk to them quickly about why they shared that word concerned, and yes or no, are they concerned about humanity?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Yes.
you're hearing that as well?
Yes, always concerned about humanity, because what affects humanity affects them as well. So they want a better coexistence. I'm hearing coexisting.
And I also heard they're very happy to be talking to us today. And they're like, this is so fun. Let's ask the Segasira group what they would love for us to know about them coming together with the Titus group in peace at this time, excuse me. So what would they love to share about them coming together in peace without the usual behaviors the Dian Fossey group has seen them exhibit? Like, why now? Is it that they just haven't been noticed, or is there something different? Are they trying to tell us something or teach us? And see what they have to say.
What I'm hearing, Annette, is that they're modeling for us that that human beings, we can often get in our own way. And so they are modeling for us the importance and the ability to change behavior, and that that it's necessary for us, for our evolution, for the planet, for all species, for us to learn new ways of being with ourselves and with one another. And they knew that this would be something that would be noticed, and they made sure it was noticed. So they really teaching us and modeling for us, and showing us the possibility.
Thanks, Jill. Christina, would you like to share?
It was very similar to what Jill shared. And I'm also seeing like their example towards the, let's say, the children of the community, the young ones. So they're also teaching the young ones different ways of being. Yeah, and as you said, modeling. It's like they're you know, teaching by example. You know, so they want to show how the difference in when you react, when not react, you say they're correcting me, the actions you take, you know, it's not based from reaction. It's not a reaction, it's an action. That's what they say.
That makes sense. Thanks, Christina. They said, why now? They're like, why not now? And they said, to me, it's time. And they would hope that we humans would mirror them. And like Jill heard, it was strategic, and they knew that they were being watched, and they're trying to teach us a lesson because they are concerned about us humans. So it's pretty cool, and it all falls under the category of asking the humans for, or excuse me, we asking the animals for help, we humans asking the animals for help. I know that I've been asking a lot for their guidance and for help with things. Christina, go ahead.
I just heard, you know, they corrected me again when I said children. They meant us, like humans. They consider us their children.
Sure.
Like, no, I was talking about you, the humans. You're the children we're teaching.
What I'm also hearing from them is that element of choice, that we have the choice to change our behavior and to choose love and to choose to take loving actions, just like they have choice, right? They are not pure instinct, right? They have choices, and so do we.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Segasira group. Let's get to know the Titus group, or the Titus family, whatever they would like to be called. I'm sure they have an opinion. And let's get to know their personality and share. And then we can, or since this is the second group, we can get to know their personality and ask them that same question. What would they love for us to know about them coming together with the Segasira group in peace at this time? So we can take a little bit longer to get to know their personality and ask them that question, and then we can share. I found the Titus group to be more serious, to be guides of wisdom. Kind of, if they were human, I would classify them as professors and philosophers. And they said it's time to make right. Things are off balance. And they said they are creating harmony. And so that's what I heard from them. Jill, would you like to go next?
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I know this can happen sometimes, because sometimes they show different people, different sides of them. So what I got from them was bold and wild, and that they love the idea of change. And that, when the first group sort of came to them with sort of this proposition of shifting the way that they interact, they loved the idea of trying out new ways of being. Like that whole element of change was exciting for them. And so they're really wanting us to, rather than go to a place of fear or resistance with changing how we interact with one another, to really look at it as an exciting new adventure. And, almost through like a child's eyes, that it can be fun and bring so much joy and new possibility.
Thanks, Jill. Christine, would you like to share?
Yeah, I also experienced the wisdom you experienced, Annette. I felt there are members of this family that are wiser. That not that the other family community didn't have like wise members, but there was like a more pronounced wisdom in it. And they actually said, we have come to realize the importance of shadow work. And I thought that was very, so they're actually also working with the sides of what we say shadow work. And they say they realize it is time to make change, and what better way than to show it by example.
How would you define shadow work for people who don't know what that is?
So shadow work is actually working with the sides of ourselves that are come out, like when you're angry or when you're hurt or when that's kind of like in the shadow. And when you work with that, you transform it into love, into more heartfelt feelings, rather than acting on on those emotions, on those feelings, on those impulses, you know. So that's how I understood doing shadow work, is in that moment to their action to be not based on anger or resentment or hurt, or to be more heartfelt and change in that moment, you know, when there's a situation rising.
Now, is there anything the Titus group would love to share with us before we go on to our next topic? Give them, or the Segasira group as well, if there's anything either of them want to share before.
I actually heard what Jill said, like they said to be bold and brave.
Like that.
And they also want to remind us that we're not alone in it, that they want to partner with us in it. You know, they're sort of leading us and teaching us, and that it's really that we can do this. You know, sort of like one step at a time, and not to be overwhelmed by you know, it can seem that where we want to and need to get to seems so far away, but if we take it one step at a time, that we can get there.
I like that. And anybody watching this, you can reach out to all of them as a collective or either group and ask them for help with this topic or with other things that you might be encountering in your life, and they want to help. They're here for us. And before we close, I thought it might be fun if you would like to share, either of you, an example of an experience when you might have asked the animals for help with a certain situation or something that you were going through. Is there anything that anybody wants to share?
I could share that I very often ask for help. Yeah, I think that's something that Maya like said, you know, ask the animals for help, you know, and whenever, either emotionally or like in like questions about when I have a project to do, I ask for help. And sometimes I ask from like Shanti, my dog who's in spirit. Sometimes I ask in general, is there someone there to help me? It's like, I'm here, help. Sometimes I'm driving, you know, and I realize that I'm deep in thoughts, or I'm feeling low energetically, and I say, is anybody there? Got any words of wisdom? And I always, can't say often because it is always, have someone there willing and wanting to help and to pour, you know, like it's just like a loving feeling, and you just kind of change, you shift basically when you ask the help from the animals and nature. It is an instant shift, which is really, really amazing.
And then Maya, you spoke about, she is our teacher. We all met in animal communication school, and Dr. Maya Kincaid was our teacher. And I've been lucky to be able to keep in touch with both of you after school, and I'm so happy that you're both in my life, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jill, would you like to share anything?
Sure. You know, it's interesting because I can forget to ask the animals for help. And you know, it's funny because sometimes I'll, you know, it's easier for me to remember sometimes and tell someone else, hey, why don't you check in with the animals? And then when it comes to myself, sometimes I forget. So when I remember, and I really am remembering more and more, is my kitty, Jessie, who is in spirit form now, was always very powerful when he was in physical form, and very powerful now in spirit form. And he always had a great sense of humor, just really wise. And so I will reach out to him for like concrete things, even, if I can't get my remote control to work, or if I'm struggling like to do something in the house, I'll reach out to him for help with that. Or it can be something more emotional, something I'm trying to work on, something that's not coming together. And so it's so interesting to see the range of the ways that animals can help us, because it's really all about energy. So, we're trying to figure out and understand how they can help us with our minds, but energetically, since everything at its core that's what it is, they are really able to help us on so many different levels. And really, you have nothing to lose. So what I would say is, give it a try. You can ask your own animals for help, whether they're physically here or in spirit form. You can ask other people's animals for help, or you can ask the animal kingdom, and just trust and watch how they show up for you.
I've asked animals for help with directions, like if I'm in a city that I'm not familiar with. I do some pet sitting to help supplement my travel through a professional outfit. And I'll first ask the animals of the pet sit, do you want me to come and pet sit for you? I mean, is that okay? I had, there were two, it was a dog and a cat, and they actually recommended that I not apply for that pet sit, because although they would love to have me there, they thought their human would kind of make me crazy or be maybe difficult to work with. So they said, I wouldn't apply for this job if I were you. So I thought that was funny. And then I asked the elephant kingdom a lot as a collective, or certain elephant friends that I have. And the most amazing thing happened when they shared. It was because they'd been preparing me for years to get ready to go out on the road and teach animal communication. And so it was April in 2021. They said, okay, it's this year, it's time. And like, oh, okay, great. But most places were still in lockdown, and I was supposed to go to Nepal, and they hadn't opened visa on arrival yet. And they said I could send my passport to Washington, D.C. and get it that way, but I didn't have to. They were going to open up visa on arrival. And I'm like, okay, I believe you. So I won't send my passport to DC. We'll just wait. They told me to purchase a ticket at the end of September, and summer went by, still no visa on arrival. I would ask Dr. Kincaid and my other colleagues when I would do communication sessions or in class. I said, are you guys still hearing that the elephants are saying that I should still go this year? They haven't opened it up. And I believe them. They were telling me, yeah, keep your bags packed, but I'm a little bit nervous. And I would ask them, I'm like, are you sure? And then I would think, are you guys rolling your eyes at me because I've been asking you so many times? And they're so kind and loving. They don't treat us that way, where maybe a human would get annoyed at us for asking so many times and have an ego like, why don't you believe me? They're like, ask as many times as you want. It's okay. But yeah, you're gonna go. And sure enough, September 2nd, my flight was for, I think, the 29th. Nepal opened up visa on arrival. And I talked to our teacher about it. And I had a question, like what you were saying, Jill. They can help us not only in our spiritual or evolving mentally aspect of our growth, but with practical things. And I was curious, like, how did that happen? And Dr. Kincaid and I both heard that it's not like they're magic and they can make things happen. They're not like a fortune teller or something like that, but they can help shift things or set things up for things to happen, but humans have to actually do part of the work. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Or have you ever had conversations about how they actually do what they do? Because I was so curious about it. And it's like they couldn't give me an exact date, but they knew it was going to happen in September sometime. And to keep my bags packed, and it was going to, it was going to happen.
I'm hearing there are probabilities, like there's a timeline, let's say, and it's probable. So they know how to see like what's happening down the timeline. And yeah, I mean, time is not really, it's relative, isn't it? So I would sometimes experience them knowing things of the future, like I spoke to a cat once that knew that it was gonna come, like, as you said, like in September, you know. So they know some things of the future, not as a fortune teller, but yeah, it's probabilities.
Well, and they're masters of telepathic communication, and they can talk to millions of beings like that. I mean, I read a quote in the book, The Elephant Whisperer, and the author, and I might be saying this incorrectly, but it was something like the animal's communication in the natural world is as natural as a breeze. And isn't that true? And that's what I strive to be able to teach to my students, is to help them realize it's nothing we need to connect with or meditate to it. It's just, we're always connected, and communicating in this way is just as natural as a breeze.
Annette, what I'm hearing is that their energy is sort of cleaner. They don't have sort of the same obstacles that we do, the same self-doubts or insecurities or saboteurs, internal saboteurs that we have. So, and they're very connected to everything, to nature, to all beings, so that when they set an intention or when they're working to help us in some way, it's just cleaner. Like we could create things much more easily and readily if we didn't have these internal blocks. And because they don't, they kind of can cut through a lot of that messiness and those that static sort of between us putting out a desire and it manifesting.
And I was sure showing my insecurities and having fear during that time getting ready to leave. But I learned some really great lessons through that experience. Is there anything either of you want to share before we go? And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Christina.
No, I kind of interrupted you, didn't I? It's just the trust, isn't it? I had an experience with a cat the other day, and it was showing me how I doubt myself. So I should trust myself more when realizing that communicating with the animals and nature, as you said, is very simple. It's not simple or easy. There's a word that it's just, as you said, as a breeze, and the mind comes in and doubts, and that doubt is not useful. Just put it to the side and know that we are communicating. that we are hearing them correctly. And so, yeah, trust.
Okay. Well, thanks you guys for showing up today. And I think we're going to try to do one more of these discussions. And so we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.